is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by J. Yogaraj and read by Geethanjali Ramanayaka. The headlines. The development and beautification of towns in long-term development basis will commence in the latter part of this month. Another stock of 17 million COVID vaccines will arrive in the island by the end of next month. Express feeders pay Sri Lanka $3.6 million as compensation. Biodegradable lunch sheets compulsory from August 1st. The cultivation process of 25 million tea saplings has commenced today. The intellectuals point out waste could be reduced during the organic food production process. News from overseas. Taliban flag raised above border crossing with Pakistan. In sports, Owen Morgan captains as England players return for T20 series. Local news in detail. The development and beautification of towns in long-term development basis will commence in the latter part of this month. The project is carried out under the theme of Vistas of Prosperity. The project will also include infrastructure facility development and other necessary facility extension based on the requirement of the local residents. These matters were discussed in detail at a meeting held at Temple Trees today under the patronage of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. Another stock of 17 million COVID vaccines will arrive in the island by the end of next month. State Minister Professor Channa Jayasumana said the order has been placed and the stocks will arrive in the island on time. Meanwhile, the vaccination drive is being carried out successfully at island-wide locations at present, he added. Express feeders, operators of the container ship Express Pearl, through the vessel owners P&I insurers, have made an initial payment of $3.6 million to the Sri Lankan government to help compensate those affected by the consequences of the fire and sinking of the vessel. Sri Lanka had sought an initial payment of 700 million rupees to cover the cost of compensation for fishermen affected by the fire. Express feeders said that discussions are ongoing on the payment of further claims and all legitimate claims will be considered. Express feeders said that they continue to contribute to the cleanup and pollution mitigation efforts, having flown in additional oil spill response assets on a chartered flight from Malaysia in response to a request from the UN-EU team in Colombo. The shipping company also said that at the wreck site, caretaker salvors remain on a 24-hour watch to deal with any debris and report any form of spill, with drones deployed daily to help with the monitoring activities. The Environment Ministry has made the use of biodegradable lunch sheets compulsory from August 1st, Environment Minister Mahinda Amravira said. Addressing the media, he said biodegradable lunch sheets should be made available in shops from the said date. Non-perishable lunch sheets made of polythene will be banned from August 1st and also their production and distribution. However, a grace period of 1 month will be granted to sell the existing stock of lunch sheets which have already been produced. Any new production and distribution of lunch sheets made of polythene will be prohibited thereafter, the minister said. The Central Environment Authority and the Consumer Affairs Authority will conduct raids to find out whether the prohibited materials are still being produced. Law will be strictly enforced against the persons who manufacture and distribute in defiance of government orders, Minister Amaraveera said. He also said a cabinet memorandum will be signed today, the 14th, to submit to the cabinet a list of banned items on 8 other types of polythene and plastic products for immediate disposal. The cultivation of 25 million tea saplings has commenced today. The inaugural ceremony was held this morning in Gaul, Karapitiya area under the patronage of Minister Dr. Ramesh Padrana. A sum of 500 million rupees has been granted to the tea cultivators with the sole purpose of promoting the tea cultivators to double the production. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
People's Bank, celebrating 60 years of empowering the nation.
Professor KKDS Ranavira of Food Science Education Unit of Sri Jayawardhanapura University says the waste could be reduced during the organic food production process. Thereby, the prices of the organic food items could be maintained at a low level in long term. This could also turn out to be a best food practice in the country, he added. It is recommended that 70-30 proportional representation system for the future local government elections. The recommendations are mentioned in the final report of the committee appointed to look into the local government procedures. Earlier, a recommendation was made to make a change of 60-40 representation. Later, it was changed based on the other factors of the election procedures. The relevant final report was handed over to the Minister Janaka Bandara Tendakone recently. The 6 suspects of Easter Sunday attack who are in remand custody has been re-remanded till the 18th of this month. The suspects could not be produced today due to the prevailing COVID pandemic situation. The Fort Magistrate Priyantha Liyanage gave this order today through Skype technology. Many effective measures have been taken to conduct educational activities amid the corona pandemic. The process and the development are continuously monitored for the benefit of the school students. Under the first stage, it has been decided to reopen schools, around 3,000 schools having less number of students in the near future. State Minister P.R. Nishant revealed this information during a media conference held in Colombo today. That ends local news.
Towards a new dimension in innovation, People's Bank, celebrating 60 years of empowering the nation.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The Health Ministry has introduced a set of regulations with regard to organising functions during this COVID-19 situation. A booklet has been released on the protective measures to be adopted when conducting functions. All relevant parties of the organisers should strictly adhere to these regulations. It should be noted that the organising of events and functions has faced many difficulties due to the frequent changes in the travel restrictions and health regulations during the last 14 months. That was our main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
On to Watchlight, the health officials request the public to follow the health guidelines during this period. Although the travel restrictions are relaxed, the passengers are advised to follow the health regulations strictly. The public is requested to follow the special guidelines released by the Health Ministry to control the third wave of the corona outbreak. The health officials warn that further travel restrictions will be determined in the future based on the behavior of the general public. That was Watchlight. And on to a bulletin of world news in the headlines. Taliban flag raised above border crossing with Pakistan. Sydney extends lockdown to fight Delta outbreak. Texas Democrats defy arrest threats after fleeing to block voting law. The Taliban are reported to have raised their flag above a key border post between Afghanistan and Pakistan and claim it is now under their control. Videos being shared on social media show the white flag fluttering above the Spin Boldak crossing near Kandahar. Afghan officials have denied the post has fallen, although pictures on social media show the militants chatting to Pakistani border guards. The BBC has been told the Taliban took the border crossing with no resistance. Residents of Australia's largest city will be in lockdown for longer than expected. Sydney's stay-at-home orders, which started in late June, have been extended until July 30th. Almost 1,000 infections have been recorded since the outbreak began near Bondi Beach. Democrats from Texas have defied threats of arrest after fleeing the state in an effort to stop Republicans from passing a sweeping new voting law. More than 50 Democrats flew to Washington, D.C. on Monday in a move intended to paralyze the state's House of Representatives ahead of the vote. At least two-thirds of the chamber's 150 members must be present for a vote. On Tuesday, Republican Governor Greg Abbott threatened the missing politicians with arrest. Back to the headlines of the world news. Taliban flag raised above borders crossing with Pakistan. Sydney extends lockdown to fight Delta outbreak. Texas Democrats defy arrest threats after fleeing to block voting law. That ends world news.
Development News is brought to you by
Quality matters than price. So as an engineer, I recommend Melva RB500. It's made with virgin billets using the latest technology. Melva RB500, number one in Sri Lanka. Truly Sri Lankan.
A special project has been implemented to control the flood situation in the Colombo district. A sum of 257 million rupees has been allocated for this purpose. The World Bank has granted financial assistance for this project. The Ministry of Urban Development and Housing says that the necessity arises due to frequent flood situation at Kalani River. The construction of extra sluice gates has also been included in this project. That was Development News.
Development News was brought to you by
Quality matters than price. So as an engineer, I recommend Melva RB500. It's made with virgin billets using the latest technology. Melva RB500, number one in Sri Lanka. Truly Sri Lankan.
In sports news, England have named 9 players who were forced to self-isolate during the recent one-day series with Pakistan in their T20 squad for the upcoming series between the countries. Owen Morgan will captain a squad that includes Johnny Bairstow, Jos Buttler and Jason Roy, but Ben Stokes is rested. Also included are some of the players who performed well in the ODI series, such as Saqib Mahmood and Matt Parkinson. The 3-match series begins at Trent Bridge on Friday, 16th July. That was Sports News.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply. Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
Agriculture and industrial activities reported substantial positive growth rates of 6.1% and 5.5% respectively during the first quarter of 2021, according to the Department of Census and Statistics. Meanwhile, services activities expanded at a moderate rate of 3% during this quarter when compared to the same quarter in 2020. In the first quarter of 2021, the agriculture activities as a whole have reported a substantial expansion of 6.1% when compared to the 6.5% of negative growth recorded in the first quarter of 2020. Most of the agriculture activities have reported positive growth rates. That was Business News.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money. Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
On to economic news. The Board of Investment of Sri Lanka yesterday announced that it had successfully administered the first dose of vaccinations against the COVID-19 pandemic to employees of all 14 export processing zones across the country, while carrying out a simultaneous drive to inoculate employees located in the manufacturing entities under its purview that fall outside of the zones as well. Through these initiatives, the BOI aims to administer the first dose of the vaccination for all employees totaling nearly 500,000 by mid-August this year. This countrywide vaccination drive has been primarily supported by the Ministry of Health, the armed forces and local authorities, and it comes in the wake of all BOI enterprises cumulatively achieving a year-to-date export value for the first 6 months of the year almost on par with 2019 pre-pandemic rates. That was economic news.
Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue in partnership with the Ministry of Education introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
The Met Department says conditions are favorable for the formation of evening thunder showers at several places in the north central, eastern and Ua provinces and in the Mullaitivu district during the next few days from tomorrow, the 15th. Several spells of showers will occur in the Sabaragamuwa, western, central and southern provinces. General public is kindly requested to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by temporarily localized strong winds and lightning during thunder showers. This weather report was published this afternoon at 5 p.m. Further details could be obtained by visiting the official website of the department. Meanwhile, the international weather forecast website accuweather.com predicts that Colombo weather would be generally bright during the day, but there will be cloudy weather in the evening. Today's daytime temperature would be around 31 degrees Celsius. There will be light showers in many places in the Colombo district in the night. Tonight's temperature will be around 28 degrees Celsius and there will be scattered showers in selected spots late in the night. The ground temperature would be around 30 degrees Celsius at the time of this news broadcast. The air quality index is 17, which shows fair condition in Colombo. The air quality is generally acceptable for most individuals. That was the weather report.
Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue in partnership with the Ministry of Education introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
To end this news broadcast, back to the headlines. The development and beautification of towns in long-term development basis will commence in the latter part of this month. Another stock of 17 million COVID vaccines will arrive in the island by the end of next month. Express feeders pay Sri Lanka $3.6 million as compensation. Biodegradable lunch sheets compulsory from August 1st. The cultivation process of 25 million tea saplings has commenced today. The intellectuals point out waste could be reduced during the organic food production process. News from overseas. Taliban flag raised above border crossing with Pakistan. In sports, Owen Morgan captains as England players return for T20 series. And that ends this news broadcast.